Okay, welcome everyone. We're here today with Eril Kaya. He's here to talk about what's happened to him in the last few years. So tell us, what happened in 2020?
Well, I mean, first of all, I can start off by, for the people who know me, it's been a while since I've been silent now. I haven't spoken about this stuff that we're going to be talking about today for a long time, since a couple of years, 3 years maybe. It's because I've been involved in some incidents where I've been shut down, I've been silenced, I've been in prison. I'm still banned from traveling to most countries in the world. So I've been pretty much in London, minding my own business and building myself back up and putting myself back on track again and recovering since what's happened to me. And you just asked the question, what happened in 2020?
Yeah, why have you been silent all this time? Let us know.
Well, as everyone would know, in 2020, apparently there was this so-called virus going around, which was killing everybody, which now the majority of people who have a brain come to realize that it was all a hoax. I don't know what your takes are and what your views are on this subject. But what do you think it was?
I think I agree on a lot of your views. I think a lot of it was about control, putting the lockdowns in place. It was really kind of testing people's minds, people's strengths, and seeing how subservient people really were in that situation.
Yeah, in a way, it was a social experiment, like you say, at the same time, as well as it was part of the agenda to get the agenda moving, which was we're now stepping into a new paradigm, which is simply a new shift in awareness, in consciousness, which is allowing us to evolve in spirit and soul and move on to the next level of evolution with humanity. So the enemies of life, obviously, they don't want this to happen, do they? So what do? They put obstacles in our way. So they've got to come up with some kind of a fear hoax just to put us in a lower vibrational frequentic state so that they can, because when we're vibrating at a lower frequency, vibrationally, which is we're in fear state basically, they can make us do whatever the hell they want us to do. They say jump, we say hi, because we're in fear mode and we're in survival mode. So what they did was with the COVID thing, there was no such thing as a virus, which was killing everyone. So all they had to do was use the powers that they have, which is their media, which they control, and tell all of us that there's a virus and it's killing everyone. And we don't know what the nature of the virus is yet, but we're working on it. But what we do know is you've got to wear a mask for now and cover up to protect yourselves and your families. And we're going to see what this is all about. And we've already started works on a vaccine, right? So meanwhile, just, follow the news and listen to what we have to tell you. Sorry, I'm laughing because it's all pathetic.
Yeah.
But because the people were in a fearful state, they believed it straight away, because that's what happens. When you're in survival mode, you're looking out to authority figures or who you perceive as authority figures to tell you what to do next to stay alive. And that's what was happening. People were like looking up to what they perceive as authority, which is establishment. And through the media, they were telling everyone to like stay at home, put a mask, socially distance themselves, and all that garbage. And I immediately knew what it was. So the first day of lockdown, I remember I just jumped on my motorcycle and I headed down towards the south coast, and there was no one on the road. So for the first time in my life, I was able to open the throttle and just blast. There wasn't even police on the road, so it worked in my favor. Everyone was at home hiding away because they were scared. And yeah, obviously everything came to an end. And what happened was, I used to care for someone back then because I was in care, and she ended up being hospitalized because of what was going on. But what was going on was not a virus. And I spoke about this. I spoke about the nature of what it really was. And I got into a lot of trouble. The United Nations came after me. And I basically went to prison. And I'm not allowed to travel anywhere. I'm not pretty much allowed to do pretty much a lot of stuff. So I've been taking it easy now. And what I basically revealed was the fact that it was something else that was causing the so-called flu-like symptoms, which people were having. And today we're in, what is the 2nd of February, 2025. And still there's people with the same symptoms, flu-like symptoms, especially this winter, like over the New Year's period. I think pretty much everyone got it. Everyone went down with it was a flu, wasn't it?
But even after these so-called vaccinations as well, it's still carrying on. So it kind of
Well,
makes
to
a
be honest
question.
with you, the people who had the vaccinations, who went through the vaccination program and they got all of the injections, they've been affected the most by this wave of whatever the hell it is, right? Because their immune systems are already compromised because of the vaccination program, because of what was in the vaccines. So the perception of the virus was to justify the vaccine, which they were going to give the people. They were going to put the problem in the body.
Sure.
So they needed a justification, didn't they? So, there's a virus going on, which is killing everyone. But that wasn't a virus. People were feeling the symptoms because of due to radiation poisoning. Because what they've been doing now is weaponizing our atmosphere. They've been putting satellites up and increasing the level of radiation poisoning by increasing the level of electromagnetic radiation for our so-called devices and technology and entertainment, as they say. But the real reason is that what they're actually doing is they're weaponizing our atmosphere, because the Earth, the creation, has a natural frequency, which is life force, it's organic. And this life force energy or frequency emanates and comes through every single natural living organism, which is organically created, and it is a part of this realm. So what they've done is they've created an artificial grid over the Earth, which covers the Earth with their toxic radiation to counter that natural life force energy coming through the creation. And that's how they control the energy of our realm. So they've manufactured an artificial weapon system from the original blueprint of our creation, and they're using it against the creation itself and life force itself. Don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah. But essentially they're attacking us with dark energy, right? Like stop us vibrating at a higher frequency, like positive frequencies. They're kind of taking that away from us. That's
Well,
weird.
every single biologically natural living organism, which is a creation of this earth, is a living, breathing portal. It's a portal. Like the human heart is a portal. So when it's open, we have the life force energy of natural intelligence coming through our hearts into this realm, right? Which sustains the realm naturally. So this is the energy which we call, some refer to as God, some refers to as source, natural intelligence, spirit, whatever you want to call it, whatever background you're coming from, but you get the point, right? And they have basically manufactured artificially from the blueprint of this natural law principle a counter weapon, so to make sure that that natural energy doesn't come through anymore. So what we're looking at is we're looking at a spiritual battle, which is none other than a battle for the portals of planet Earth, of our terrain creation. So the more the life force is coming through, the more they're increasing the amount of radiation that they are firing at us to counter the natural ascension process or jump and move into the next paradigm, which we call. And the energy they're bringing in is not from here. You know, the EMF that they're attacking us with, it's not an energy which is inherent to planet Earth. What they're doing is they're merging two realms with each other. They're merging our realm with another realm, which is the darker realm of the enemies of life.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did the establishment shut you down, and how have you managed to recover from it since?
Well, right, okay. So in 2020, when all this stuff happened, what happened was I was a carer. I was caring for someone who became hospitalized. And I don't know if you can remember, back then they were telling everyone to stay at home, not go to the hospitals, in order to not overwhelm the hospitals because they were so busy because of the virus. That was the story. So they were fear-mongering people to not go to the hospital when they were sick or feeling symptoms. So everybody was staying at home and just cheering on the National Health Services while they were committing mass genocide, right? And what happened was my patient was hospitalized, so I took her into the A&E. They didn't want to see her. But somehow I managed to convince them that they should see her, so they did. They took her into the hospital, and when I went there was no one in the hospital. It's like there was only one person at the desk in the A&E, and no one there, no patients, no one. But they were still trying to tell me that, oh, we're overwhelmed, but there was no one in the hospital. So I left her there overnight, and the next morning I went in to a hospital, and they didn't let me in. There was security at the door. They didn't let me in, so I had to leave, go and grab myself a coffee, come back an hour later, and show face again, but try and like snuck in through a back entrance or something, just to avoid security. So somehow I avoided security. I got into the building, and everything was shut. All the restaurants were shut, the coffee shops, and there was no one. There was no staff. There was no nurses. So I had to avoid security again because it was just security. I could see them like. So I had to go around, and I managed to get to the lifts, and I went up to a level where the doors of the lift opened, and I came out, and there was a corridor. And from the corner of my eye, I saw someone pass, and the person saw me as well. It was a nurse. And then she kind of looked at me, and we looked at each other, and I started walking towards her, and she started walking fast towards me. and then she stopped me, and she said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Look, I have a patient I need to see here. Her name is this." And she kind of looked around like this, and she went like this, "Okay, just give me 5 minutes, yeah? Go in that room there and just wait there for me, yeah? And just give me 5 minutes. Just go in there. Don't come out, she said to me. I was like, I didn't want to ask questions, right? I just went in there, and she came in after that and she said to me, right, you've got 5 minutes. I'll take you to her, but you've got, please, no more than 5 minutes, then you've got to leave. And I said to her, what's going on here? And she said, well, we've got an emergency situation here. So just no more than 5 minutes. So she took me in, and it was a room, and my patient was there, and there was another patient as well. And they're all on ventilators, right? They're both on ventilators. And the story was she's been diagnosed with COVID. So I said to her, what about this lady? Oh, this is all COVID ward.
Right.
And I'm like, okay.
Was there a lot of people in this place, in this hospital?
But the hospital was empty.
Yeah.
Hospital was empty. So my patient was there, and I went in there, and I'm talking to her. She's not aware she's out. And it's like I said to her, I knew she was not going to come out alive. I knew that they were killing people off in there, right? I just knew. And I said to her, listen, she was already like compromised anyway. Like
she had underlying health conditions or something.
She was suffering from a rare genetic condition called ataxia, right? Which is, what happens is the body starts attacking itself, and over the months and the years, the body begins to deteriorate, right? So her eyesight was already gone. She couldn't see anything. And it took a lot of effort. It used to take a lot of effort to get her attention. When I used to call her name out, I used to call like 10, 20 times. I used to shout. She didn't hear me. And all of a sudden, she'll be like, ah. Like she'll catch something. She'll respond like 2 minutes later. She'll be like, ah. Yeah. But she was deteriorating really quickly. So she was on her way out. And she'd already been into hospital for lung conditions already 3 times anyway before the COVID, right? So this time I knew she wasn't coming out of this hospital, because the last time she just about managed to come out, and then she had to go on like a feed and a drip feed back home and everything. She was already compromised, so I knew she wasn't going to make it. So I said to her, look, listen, I knew she couldn't hear me, but I held her hand, right? And I said, listen, this is it. You're going to have to leave now, I said to her, yeah? There's nothing here left for you, believe me, I said to her. And then she started crying. I'm like, what the hell, she can hear me? It was like, I don't know what happened there. And I said to her, I'm going to have to go now. They won't let me be here. And I said things like, you don't want to know what's going on all around you right now in the world and everything and all this stuff. And then she was crying. So I left her, and I left the hospital, and I knew that was the last time I would see her. So I said my goodbyes, and she acknowledged it as well, man. So, and the next morning I was woken up with a phone call. Like, this was like 5:15 in the morning, something like that. Hi, Mr. Kaya. I'm like, yeah. Are you Alison's carer? I'm like, yeah. Well, okay, just to let you know, she's just passed like 5 minutes ago. And, you can come to the hospital, and, we can arrange for, you can contact her mother as well and her family and tell them, and they can make all the arrangements. And I'm like, thank you very much. I'll be down there later on this morning, I said to them, and that's it. I just woke up, and I couldn't sleep anymore after that.
Yeah, must have been really difficult.
Yeah, and it turns out that what they did was they suspended all the staff, all the NHS workers, national health workers in the hospital. So the hospitals were empty, and the patients who were already there, they were putting them on ventilators. They were falsely diagnosing them as COVID. Everything was COVID back then. Even a motorcycle accident or a broken arm would have been COVID, right? So everything's COVID. So you can't argue. What are you going to do? And they were paying doctors the actual $40K to put the patients on a ventilator, blow their lungs out, kill them, and COVID on the death certificate. So a specific number of doctors were getting paid to commit mass genocide, right? This is what was happening. And I don't know if you can remember, it's like every Thursday evenings, people used to come out on the street and they used to cheer the National Health Services for doing a great job.
Sure.
And they didn't even have a clue what was going on in the hospitals. They didn't even have a clue what the National Health Services was actually involved in, which was mass genocide, right? And it was like, what can you say?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Errol, because I remember just walking out to my car, about to go somewhere, and like the whole neighbourhood's outside clapping the sky, and there's like local media turning up with cameras, and I'm like asking them what's going on, because I wasn't like really paying attention to what the news was saying.
It was just
a lot then.
It was all just one big shit show, wasn't it?
It just seemed like it was like a play being played, you know?
It was like a circus.
Yeah, definitely a circus act.
And I felt like I was the only one who could see through the whole thing. And I'm like, can nobody else really see this for what it is? Why is it that I can see, but and nobody else can? You know, it's the power, the level of the mind control is so amazing. It's all mind control. Everything is a psychological operation. The entire civilization itself has been a mind control operation. It's been one big, massive psychological operation. Because what does it mean to be civilized? It means to be domesticated. We're supposed to be a part of nature, right? And the natural habitat. So what they've done is they've separated us from that by blowing smoke up our asses, by telling us that, oh, we're better than the rest of the species as human beings. We're more exclusive. We're more intelligent. And, you know, we're civilized, and we should be civilized, and we should just be different. But we're also a part of nature too. And we're wild. We're born to be wild. We're born in the wild. We're born as wild beings. But they can't afford to have that around, because wild beings don't stand for mind control and control. A wild species cannot be controlled, so therefore it has to be domesticated. So how are they going to do that? By telling us a lie that we're civilized and we're different from the rest of creation. And it's just all a big lie, you know? It's all a big lie.
So is that why they're doing this, and who is behind it?
Well, the main reason why they disconnect us from the rest of nature is because when we're disconnected from our nature, we don't know what we are, we don't know who we are, we don't know anything anymore. We don't know how the rest of nature operates. So then they can easily come and tell us about ourselves, because we don't know about ourselves.
Erasing history, in essence.
Well, we're erasing history, our true history is a part of it.
Yeah.
And obviously domesticating us and disconnecting us from nature. We no longer know how nature truly operates. So they can come in and tell us, oh, there's a virus that's killing everyone. But if we were still connected to nature, we would still understand that viruses don't operate this way. They don't kill the host. They just stress the host enough so the host can adapt and become stronger, because the virus needs the host to continue, right? That's how nature operates. And that's how viruses operate. Viruses are here to help us evolve and to make us grow. Viruses are a crucial part of life, right? Hence the saying, life is viral, right? Everything is viral. So they've demonized us against ourselves and our nature, because we don't know about ourselves and our nature, because they've disconnected us from ourselves and our nature by domesticating us. You understand? That's what civilization was all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a challenge. It's like put there as a challenge for us. But
Well, no, it's, they've put us in an artificial enclosure. They've taken us out of our natural habitat, which is nature, and put us in an artificial environment, which is what we call civilization. You know, we live in cities, we live in towns. We have everything ready for us. We don't hunt for our food anymore. We don't grow our food anymore. We go to the shops and we buy it with money. We're going to work for credit so that we can pay for our food. We don't even know where it comes from. Don't worry about where it comes from. It's there ready for you for as long as you're willing to pay for it. Comfort, comfort, convenience. Convenience, convenience equals destruction, right? This has caused us to become more and more lazier and more irresponsible as a species, encouraging us and enticing us to outsource our power away externally and not take responsibility for our own lives and our own selves, unlike how our ancestors used to. They used to do everything. They knew about everything. They knew about the land. They knew about the soil. They knew about the weather. They knew about everything. They were connected, just like the rest of nature. The animals know when the rain is going to come. Animals know when the seasons are going to come. You know, they know what food to eat. Nobody has to tell them. And they know what foods to stay away from, right? We were like that. We were the same as well. And we've just become domesticated. Now we don't know anymore. But the thing is, this is all by design. It's not by accident. They've done it deliberately so that they can come in and tell us about ourselves, what we are and how we should behave. And they've done it through science. Science. Now, here's the thing about science. I don't know if you noticed, but especially lately, since 2020, if something is not scientifically proven, then it can't be, right? It has to be justified and proven by science. So if science hasn't proved it yet, if there's no scientific evidence, it can't be true. So when somebody with a real life experience comes out and says something about something, they have no credibility. It's like you and me here, we can have a conversation about stuff. Because we don't have scientific credibility, because we're not scientists or experts, we're not taken seriously. Like, who are you to make that claim? And this is systematically done as well. Because why would you need an apparatus, an external fiction such as science, to explain reality? Because does science really explain reality? What do you think, in your opinion?
not really. I mean,
It's not enough, is it? Why is it not enough? Well, because science will tell us what an atom is. Apparently, it's an atom, right? That makes up our reality, and it will tell us about the atom, the nucleus, the neutron, and everything. But what it can't do is, okay, fair enough. Let's say that's the case, yeah? Well, where does that come from? Can science explain that? Science reverse engineers the physical realm in the form of matter. It studies matter, and it says, right, this is this substance, and this is what this substance does, and it's tied to this substance, which, or molecule, which does this and does that. But what it can't do is it can't explain why they exist and what their true function is. What's the power behind them driving it, right? It's spirit. Science cannot study spirit. Spirit is what drives everything into creation and reality. And science doesn't include spirit and spirituality. So they created science as a psychological operation to, rather than explain reality away, claiming to explain reality, but it doesn't explain it. But people today, they think that science explains reality, but it doesn't. So now we live in a society where everybody's expecting scientific evidence and proof so that they're able to believe something. It's a big trap. And yeah, so the question is, why are they doing this to us now? And who is it doing this? Well, after what happened in 2020, my patient passed away. I ended up in Austria because I had an Austrian friend. And when all this stuff was happening, he was like, I'm not staying in England anymore. I don't feel safe here. I'm going back to Austria, where I belong. I'm from Austria, and I feel safer in Austria, he said to me. And Austria is all nature, you know, it's all Alps. I can seek refuge in the Alps. I love the Alps. So I was like, okay. And he knew that I was jobless. So he said to me, look, I'm going to move out there. If you want, I'm going to need some help. If you want, come with me, help me move. And that way you can see Austria as well. We can spend some time there. We can do some hiking in the Alps and all this stuff. And I was like, this sounds great. So I ended up going to Austria with him, as you know the story. And that was a crazy story, man, because I went to Austria planning to stay for 3 weeks, then come back to England. But what happened was when I went out there, we started hiking the Alps, climbing the mountains. And I became addicted to the Alps. And it was like 3 weeks went by, then I was like, I'll stay another week. So before I knew it, it was like 2 months of hiking the Alps. And we were like, as I was climbing the Alps, I became stronger and stronger. I started embodying the power of the mountains, right? And one day I was standing there on the mountain and I felt this presence behind me. And I was like, I turned around and I looked back. And this was like in the near the Salzburg area. You have the world famous Mount Untersberg, where Hitler's got. He used to have a hideout on that mountain as well, called the Eagle's Nest. It's quite popular. This was somewhere near there, that region. I turned around, I looked, and I saw these 3 peaks behind me. And when I proper looked at them, they looked like 3 figures, like standing there, like Megatron and the Optimus Prime. And it was like they were communicating with me, but without speaking, right? Like telepathically.
Right.
And then I realized that, hold on a minute, these are not just mountains, they're alive, you know, and they were connecting with me. And they were like, I couldn't understand what they were saying at the time. But now I realize it had something to do with, they were calling me to that place on the earth, right? To that specific point, to stay and not leave, which ended up happening anyway. I didn't leave. So
In a positive way, not in the imprisonment way, no?
No, highly positive way. It was like I was called there to Austria to be there at that time. And there was a force which I can't describe, a powerful force, a divine, good, positive force, which was tying me down there and not letting me go. So the more time I spent there, out there in the nature in the Alps, the more I was held bound there, right? I couldn't leave. It's like, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go next week. I'm going to go back to England next week. And next weekend will come and I'll be like, well, do you know what? I've been here for how many months now anyway, so another week isn't going to do me harm. I'll go next week. And each week something would happen which would cause me to think, man, what am I going to do back in England? If I go back to England, there's no job, there's nothing, everything is happening here. because we were meeting people as well, interesting people. Like, we eventually, my friend said to me, look, there's a place in the city of Linz where they do demonstrations about the COVID. This has been going on for a few weeks now, since the beginning of COVID. And there's a guy who speaks there at the demonstration. And this guy is basically like the David Icke of Austria, for anyone who knows who David Icke is. And his name is Stephen Wyebrow, right? And I heard that and I was like, this sounds interesting. Okay. And he goes to me, next Friday, we're going to go there. And I want you to meet Steve. And I said, well, you sound like you know Steve. And he was like, no, I don't know him. But if we go there, I'm sure we can meet him. So I was like, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So that's another week. So that Friday came and we went to the city of Linz to the demonstration. And Stephen Wyebrow was there, who I formed the Gnostic Takeover channel with, by the way. He was there speaking on stage in German. Obviously, I didn't understand a word, but the way he was speaking, it was like powerful. It was a powerful, obviously, it's a powerful speech. I can feel it. And I'm like, oh, what are they talking about? What's he talking about? Oh, he's talking about, my friend is translating. He's talking about the Khazarian mafia, how they run everything, and, how it's tied to Zionism and the Satanism and the Nazism and all this stuff. And, 5G technology and what they're doing with it and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. And obviously I found it interesting.
Yeah.
Because Austria, when I went to Austria in August 2020, people were, how can I say, people didn't have a clue, right? People were so submissively following what the government says. Yeah, they believed, that everyone believed in the government. Oh, the government says we have to do this, so we have to do it. It's the government says so, we have to do it. This is how it is. The government is the highest power. So, and I used to be like, so if they told you to do this, which is an immoral act, would you do it? And they're like, yeah, of course we'd do it. I'll be like, but it's an immoral act. Can you not see that it's immoral? Yes, but it doesn't matter because that's what the government says. They know better than us. And this is the mindset they had, right? And this is because of, since the Second World War, since Hitler and the Nazis, what happened back then? They were just blindly following orders, blind belief in government and authority. So when the COVID happened, there was only one demonstration taking place in the city of Linz, where Stephen Wyebrow was talking every Friday as well. So we started attending this, how can I say, demonstration.
Yeah.
And eventually, we met a lot of people, and they started other demonstrations in other areas of Austria as well. Eventually, started one in Vienna as well, early 2021. And Christmas came, 2021 came, and I'm still in Austria. And I got there, obviously, in August 2020. And by then, I met a lot of people, and obviously Chris, who we used to call the Wizard. I'll tell you about him.
The young lad.
Yeah, the young lad. He was only 20 years old, but this 20-year-old, he had the wisdom of like a very old, God knows how many 1,000-year-old man.
Sure.
But he was a kid, right? So he was more mature than most people, basically. So we made friends, we got along well, and he was a nature boy. So he used to live in a hut. I mean, he had a house, but he preferred to sleep in the hut. And he used to take to the mountains sometimes and go and sleep in the mountains. He used to live in caves. He used to live in forests. That's what he used to love. And he used to walk around like in, he had like a walking stick like Gandalf as well. He looked like a wizard. That's why we used to call him the young wizard, right? Yeah. And he was very knowledgeable about the land and what herbs and crops grew in what season, where you can find them. And we used to go to the mountains and we used to live on the mountains together. And he used to like say, of these berries here, you can eat them, but don't eat those ones. And he was teaching me as well. And eventually, what happened was we started a YouTube channel with Stephen Wyebrow because we got along.
Okay.
You know, we started talking, and I was still trying to come back to London. Yeah. And I was saying, listen, guys, I haven't been working for months. I've run out of my savings have run out.
Yeah.
And I need to go back to London, mate, because I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get back to London. But if I don't go now, I'm never going to be able to go back because I've got my last bit of money, just enough for the journey to get back because I came on my motorbike
Sure.
and I was going to ride back.
This is 9 months in, presumably, from August, beginning of 2021.
Yeah. And no, this was actually in November 2020.
Right.
It was Halloween time.
Okay, yeah.
This was, we only just recently met with Steve. And then Age of Truth was from Denmark, was coming to Austria. They were bringing Age of Truth TV into Austria to do an interview or to do a series of interviews. And they told me about this stuff. And I was like, I've got to go back to England and everything. And they were like, are you sure? And all this stuff. And I was like, I've got to go back. So finally I decided I'm going back. And it was, I can't remember what day it was. I made the decision I'm going back basically, right? And I said to my friend, tomorrow morning I'm going to head back to London. I'm going to get on my bike and I'm going to start riding back to the French border basically. And that was it. So I was about to go to bed that night. The phone rings and it's Stephen Wyebrow. I'm like, hello, Steve. And he's like, listen, tomorrow evening, we're doing an interview with Age of Truth. Claire Edwards from the United Nations. All right, suspicious. Myself and you, and they want you as well. And I'm like, well, what do you mean they want me as well? And he's like, well, I told them about your work with shamanism and your shamanic experiences because we used to talk about this stuff a lot with Steve, right? About my shamanic background. And he said to me, they want to do an interview with you. They want you in the interview as well. And I was like, look, Steve, I've got to go back here. I'm going back tomorrow morning. I've already made the decision. He was like, don't worry about the money. You come tomorrow night and we're going to do this interview and then we're going to start our own platform. We're going to have an online presence and we're going to get donations and, you know, don't worry about the money. You've got accommodation. You can live with us and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, man. What do I do now? And now I'm thinking, if I go back to England, there's nothing waiting for me then, man. Because you know what was happening back then. They were shutting down businesses. Nothing was happening. They were kicking people out of jobs. They were closing down businesses, fining businesses that remained open.
Yeah.
But in Austria, it wasn't that bad yet. You could still do stuff. So I said to Steve, do you know what, mate? Okay, I'm coming. So what happened was I hopped on my motorbike next morning and I went to Vienna because I was in Salzburg. And they met me and greeted me and we did our first interview when it was good, you know, Age of Truth TV. I'm not sure what the name was now. Something to do with the Trump card because we spoke about Trump as well and what's going to happen with him, how he's going to come back into power and all this stuff. And it was good. So we went and celebrated after that. And then they told me that they want to do another interview, but just with me, Age of Truth, the following day. So I agreed to that, and I said, yeah. So we did another interview with the Age of Truth, and it was just me. And Lucas Alexandra from the Age of Truth TV, he gave it a silly name. It was a silly title. It did it injustice.
Sure.
But the topics were good. But I would have liked to talk about more stuff, important stuff, but he kept on going on about, so what kind of alien races are there? Talk to me about them, and talk to me about the aliens and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, kind of a little bit off topic.
Yeah, it's like, but that's what the people want to hear. And I'm like, well, I want to talk about what's going on and what the solution is, you know, but it's his show. So I had to go with the flow, but it was good. It was good that I'd done those 2 interviews, and they're still available on YouTube. But YouTube ain't censored for some reason. So yeah, what I can do is I can put the links in the bio of this video. And by the way, I'm not doing YouTube anymore because it's impossible to talk about this stuff on YouTube without getting censored. So what I've done is I've made a BitChute channel for people who are interested in hearing about this stuff. Patreon, donate, signal of interest. I can talk about this stuff more. But if I don't get any signals of interest, there's no point in me talking about this stuff anymore, because I've already been in trouble for talking about this stuff in the past. So why should I continue to, you know? At the end of the day, whoever's spoken about this stuff, they're all in prison now or they're dead. That's why you don't hear anyone talking about this stuff anymore. There's no glory in talking about this stuff, as you know yourself. Yeah. So,
I mean, when you were with Steve, the establishment shut you down essentially, didn't they?
What happened was they used Brexit as an excuse, a justification to shut me down, because by then we had the Gnostic Takeover channel and we were talking about all this stuff, talking about Satanism, how Satanism runs the world, talking about the energy weapons, the silent weapons for quiet wars, the mind control, energy weapons, mind controlling, energy weapons giving flu-like symptoms and making us feel sick. And all of this stuff, we were talking about all of this stuff. And they started clocking on. And what happened was, as soon as Brexit happened, they arrested me. And they put me in prison. They were telling me, oh, you got to leave the country because you're not allowed to be here anymore. And I was like, okay, I'll leave, but I'm not ready to leave quite yet because I've got stuff going on here. I'll leave when I'm ready. And then they were like, no, you got to leave. Otherwise, we're going to keep you in prison and all that stuff. And then eventually someone said to me, if you really want to stay, since you really want to stay, why don't you seek asylum? So they tricked me into seeking asylum. So like an idiot, I seeked asylum, right? So then they put me in an asylum camp, which was a concentration camp, basically, under the guise of an asylum camp. And they said to me, yeah, 2 days, and then we're going to send you back to England. I'm not ready to go back to England yet. Okay. And they were trying to put me through all the measures there, like wear the muzzle, take a test. And I was like, I'm not doing any of that. So one day they came to give me food, and they had this, you remember that gun they had, the laser gun, when they put it on your forehead to take your temperature to see if you got COVID or whatever, that shit. They're just putting the gun to my head, and I went, whoa. And then they were like, what's the problem? I was like, no. It's like, I have to do it, otherwise I'm not going to give you the food. To get the food, you need to go through this. I said, keep your food, fuck your food, I don't need. And I turned around, I started walking back. I was, okay, come back. And then they just gave me the food. Anyway, it's all a bluff.
Yeah,
And they were threatening me with things like, tomorrow morning the doctor's going to come and he's going to see you because you're refusing to take the test. So he's going to come and he's going to test you to see if you've got COVID. And I said to them, I ain't got COVID. I am COVID. Yeah, I am COVID. What are you going to do? I am the COVID. And they just kept on looking at me like, what, this guy is insane or whatever the fuck's wrong with him. So I said to them, listen, in the end I said to them, listen, I don't see any fences or walls here. It's not a prison. So I'm just going to leave, I said to them. Yeah? And they're like, no, you can't leave. You can't leave. We're going to deport you because you can't be here. And I said to them, but I seek asylum. That's why I'm here. So what's happening with my asylum? And they're like, well, you have to wait until we decide. So they're keeping me there. But they've already decided they don't want me there. They're going to deport me, right?
They had your documents.
They had my documents, my passport, my everything. So finally I said to them, listen, I'm leaving today. And Steve showed up with Chris and another friend, and they started pressuring the people at the office at the gate, right? What's going on here is this is a criminal facility, as you can see. It's a concentration camp. They detain refugees, basically. So they put them through all the COVID measures, test them. They come out positive, they vaccinate them, extermination, etc. And none of this is legal. It's all illegal. It's not insured. Okay, they say it's law, but it's not. It's all illegal. None of it is insured, and we're pulling it out on them. We called them out. I called them out this morning, and they've decided to release me. But right now, I'm waiting for my documents to leave, and they're playing with me. They're just killing time. But there's nothing they can do. They're all inside, peeking through the window, and they're shitting themselves because we got them by the balls. We're fucking them. They're criminals. That's what's going on here.
So, as well as the COVID measures that are uninsurable and not law, okay, the state is only allowed to operate on laws, this is also not law. We're busting this whole refugee situation that is an experiment on humanity, on our human family, okay, and you see what happens now. Can you hear the language that I'm speaking? Do you think I'm afraid of you? Anyone? Nehama? Anyone? Who's responsible for this? Who's the manager's name? We got all the names. You release this guy right now, and we leave in freedom. We're free, we're telling you what your rights are. You listen to us because you're all privately liable because you're criminals.
Basically, what they want from me before they release me is to get a COVID test. And they keep trying to get me to get a COVID test before I leave. And I clearly said no, and I read them their rights. And now they're trying to hold me back because I've refused all their measures. That's the only thing they have on me, just to buy time. But what's going to happen now is they're going to come out and give my documents because they're shitting themselves inside. They're all peering through the window. What the fuck is going on? What's going on? What's going on? I'm leaving soon.
Yeah, since when have you been here, Eril?
I've been here since Saturday. Today is Tuesday afternoon. But before that, I was kidnapped by the police, arrested apparently, and put in a prison cell in Wales for one night before I was brought here the next day. And now apparently it's out of the police's hands, so we're above the police now. So we're in a facility which belongs to the mafia, which is beyond the police now. And we're taking them down. That's what we're dealing with here. And as you can see, I'm just standing here, smiling. I mean, there's not even a proper gate. I can just walk out right now. But I'm being nice. I'm being nice. And they do have my documents, so I need to take my documents. And they have to give them my documents.
We're talking here about terrorism by this facility, by the mafia and the government. That is terrorism. Now, I, as a high commander of this earth, diplomat of the earth, you do not terrorize my people. You do not terrorize our terrain, our home. And this is what happens when you try to. So back off, okay? Otherwise, next time, there's going to be further problems for you, not for us. We're free, we tell you your rights.
Got the British Embassy involved.
This is source material, okay? This is source material that he's been here. It's all documented. We don't have to sign a thing, okay? You better sign your stuff.
And by the way,
We don't have to sign anything. We're from the earth. No documents with the earth. There's trees and plants.
is there an address outside? She wants to speak to you. Film her, Alex.
Ich habe mich informiert. Wie gesagt, die Papiere sind in Arbeit. Es dauert ein bisschen, aber es kann nicht mehr recht lang dauern. Und der Freund, der kommt da in der Zwischenzeit zum Hauptgebäude gehen, weil er kriegt noch Geld von einer Dame.
Okay.
Und wenn er dann die Papiere vom BFA kriegt, die kann er mir auch zahlen. Und dann kann er gehen.
Okay.
Aber das mit den Papieren dauert einfach nicht. Das ist
Alles
im
klar.
Krankenhaus genauso.
Aha.
Wenn man sich öffnet oder was, das dauert.
Ist alles klar. Passt, dann kennen wir sie aus. Danke. Eril. It just takes time for them to finish the paperwork and all this. No?
It's bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
About 2 hours ago, they told me it was ready. Yeah. Once again, they're lying, guys, because 2 hours ago they told me documents were ready and I should go in a building and sign. Now that my friends are here,
Die
they
müssen
won't
vor
let
2
me in the
Stunden
building.
gesagt werden, dass die Dokumente fertig sind.
They're telling me to wait outside for the documents, and it's
Sagen Sie
already been
bitte
half an hour
dem,
waiting.
Denjenigen
So they're playing.
Von mir.
That's all they can do.
Aussage, wir haben Source-Material, wir brauchen nichts unterschreiben. Wir haben Source-Material, das er da war, das ist alles dokumentiert. Und wir kriegen die Dokumente jetzt.
Ja, ich kann aber leider nicht mehr sagen.
Das sagen sie von mir. Das ist meine Nachricht an ihn. Ich habe auch schon eine E-Mail geschickt. Und er wird verstehen, wenn ich sage, private Haftung.
Aber wissen Sie, dass das eigentlich auch nicht das, was mit der Kollege kommt? Weil das ist auch privat.
Ja, ja. Sie. Gut. Aber bitte machen Sie das. Für mich. Das ist meine Nachricht an ihn. Wir bekommen es jetzt.
Ich glaube, das ist nämlich auch Datenschutz. Der braucht
Ist
nicht
gut.
filmen. Das ist nicht wegfahren. Das sind Fehler
Dann
eingehalten,
lass.
okay?
Okay, das schneiden wir raus. Alles gut.
My friends, now they're trying me. They're trying me. See, this guy over there, I helped him send them an email as well, which serves as a form of notice of liability as well. So now he's trying to get his shit too, just the same way I'm doing, so he can get out of here. What's she saying?
She doesn't want to be filmed. Yeah.
She doesn't want you. Well, you better hurry up then.
Yeah, that's
She
why
don't
I
want to
said-
be filmed. We don't want to stand here.
I commanded her that
Yeah.
we get the documents.
She doesn't
now.
want to be filmed. Good. Taste of your own medicine. We don't want to be here.
I don't have time the whole day, man.
Yeah. They're quick to tell you what they don't want.
Yeah, right.
Fuck them. I wrote them a liability letter. I wrote the Austrian government a letter basically explaining to them who they're working for, explaining their whole system to them. I even explained to them what terrorism is. And I said to them, if you don't understand what's in this document, what's in this letter, it's your responsibility to pass it on to your superior. And if they don't understand what it means, it's their responsibility to pass it on to their superior, then the next, until eventually it reaches someone who knows exactly what I'm talking about, because they will know what I'm talking about in the end. And inside the document, I explained to them what terrorism actually is as well, which is the earth plane we live on, our reality, it's a terrain, it's a territory, right? So it's a terrain. That's where we get terrium from. Terrium. And this is our territory because we're born free of this land, which makes it our territory. And so which also makes us terrestrial to this territory. We are not extraterrestrial, we are terrestrial. So this is we are of the terra. So the word terra, they have hijacked that from this principle and inverted it and given it a bad meaning. They've demonized the word. So now when we hear the word terror, we're like, well, to be terrorized, it's like, ooh, scared, right? So we're all terrorists, man. And I explained this to them. I said, yeah, I'm a terrorist. We're all terrorists, right? What they've done is they've demonized against it and they're using it against us. They've weaponized it against us so that anybody who stands against the establishment is now deemed a terrorist. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make any sense? That's why we have manufactured terrorism in this sense that we perceive terrorism as right now. It's not by accident, right? That's what terrorism, there's no such thing as terrorism in the way they're presenting it to us. They manufactured it because they know that there's going to be opposition to what they're doing further down the line. So they're going to label those people terrorists. So anyone who's against what the establishment is doing is anti-establishment and is a terrorist and is a potential threat. So, which must be taken care of. National security.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of that now, isn't it, with the free speech, like
already.
Well,
that's how they start. They start with censorship of speech and political correctness, but it's slowly going towards. You know what they done me for? They done me for ideology terrorism. They've passed an act nobody knows about. It's called ideology terrorism, and man, it's on the magistrate's website. They've got allocated special prison cells in some of the prisons up in England, in the United Kingdom, which is specifically allocated to ideology terrorists, people who are accused of ideology terrorism, isolation cells in prison complexes for these people. And they treat them worse than they treat actual criminals, murderers and stuff. Can you believe that? Ideology.
So now we're going into a place or a realm where we're not even able to think. Like even what you think in a negative way is perceived to be terroristic.
Where they're going with this is anyone who has a free mind and is able to critically think and is able to see through all this bullshit and doesn't agree with it is an ideology terrorist. And if they persist, then they're a proper terrorist. You understand what I'm saying? So they can be treated and trialed as proper terrorists.
Let's see.
Yeah. So what I'm saying here is you're not only just going to see Muslim terrorists anymore in the future. Anyone with any skin color or looks like anything who opposes the control system and authority is going to be dubbed a terrorist. Like people like you and me. We're already terrorists. Do you understand what I'm saying? People have no idea. So why is all this happening? Well, we have an evolutionary force, which is what we're all a part of. We're part of creation. God, source, whatever you want to call it. Natural intelligence is an evolutionary force. It's here to evolve through experiences of life, right? To live, express, and evolve. So there is an evolutionary force, which is also the dark side of the same force. It's like Star Wars, isn't it? You got the Force, then you got the dark side of the Force, which is the Sith, right? It's exactly the same principle, but it's one and the same force. But there's a polarity, right? So there's good and there's evil. But it's the same force, but it's two now because there's a split. You got the good and you got the evil. So we're dealing with the enemies of life, our dark brothers who are trying to who are trying to stop the process of evolution in his tracks, because they're against life and the living. They're the enemy of life. So if you're an enemy of life, what are you going to do? You're going to seek to destroy it, aren't you? Because life and the living is a threat to you, because you're not capable of that. So you envy it. So if you're not capable of something and you envy those who are capable of it, you're going to want to stop them from doing it so that you can feel better about yourself if you're evil. People say the root of evil is money, but it's not money. The root of all evil is weakness. You know why it's weakness?
Why?
Because when you're weak, you're weak. What are you capable of when you're weak? Let's say you're weak. What are you capable of?
Anything bad.
Exactly. Why?
Because you're desperate.
Yeah, you're desperate because you're not capable. And all around you, you're seeing those who are capable. So you're looking at them thinking, fucking bastards. Why can't I be like them? And that's the exact problem they've got, the enemies of life. They're weak, so they're not capable.
Yeah.
So when you're weak, what happens is you seek to destroy anything that which is better than you, so that you can feel better about yourself again. Right? Because if you're on a certain level, which is no level at all down there, and you're looking around you and you're seeing everyone getting along, everyone just enjoying, everyone getting stuff done, but you're not capable, what is there for you to do? The reason why you're not capable is because you're weak. So you feel shit, right? So how are you going to feel better about yourself again? By making sure that everything around you is on your same level as well. You want to bring everything down to your level, because you can't meet them at their level. So you've got to bring them down to your level. And that's their game. They want to bring us down to their level. So they can't become like us. They're going to make us like them so that they can feel better about themselves again. And that's all this is about. So that's why you have Satanism.
Right.
Right? So what do you know about Satanism?
Is it not linked to what we're talking about now?
Yeah, of course it's linked. Of course it's linked. So the people who run this world are Satanists. And I've spoken about this stuff before and I got into a lot of trouble. But I can't afford to care anymore. You understand what I'm saying? Because every day I live, I look around me. Okay, I'm good now. I've started my own business. I've recovered. And I'm good. I'm all right now. I'm not in prison anymore. I'm back in England. I've got my passport again. Even though I know it's good for nothing because I'm not allowed to go anywhere. I've got nothing to lose, my friend. So at this point, there's nothing left to do but to face the problem. And part of facing the problem is to talk about it, even though nobody else is talking about it. And the reason why nobody else is talking about it anymore, if you notice, a lot of people were talking about it before the COVID, before 2020, and now there's no one talking about it anymore because they've all been silenced. They're either dead or rotting away in a prison cell somewhere. I was in a prison cell myself, but then they deported me, and now I'm not allowed to travel anywhere anymore. They said 5 years. They gave me 5 years. I don't believe them. It's because shortly after that, they gave David Icke 2 years. Remember that. They cancelled David Icke as well. Not long after they cancelled me. And they gave him a 2-year ban, travel ban. So he can't go pretty much anywhere, any westernized country. we're not allowed to go to. And recently, a couple of months ago, David Icke's 2-year ban expired. But what they did was they reviewed it and they extended it.
By how much?
Probably another 2 years, because they gave him 2 years. So now they've probably extended it another 2 years. I'm not sure, but they've extended it. So what they do is, I'll tell you what they did to me. What they did to me was they deported me, and a month later, I received a big, massive letter through the post from Austria, the Austrian government, United Nations, same shit anyway. And it was, I opened it was like a big, massive envelope, yeah, with a big, massive document inside. I'm like, what the hell? It's the Bible? And it turns out it's a decision that they made on my behalf for me. So it's about a 100-page document in German, knowing that I don't speak or read German, right? In German. Maybe a few pages was English, a little bit of English, but the rest of it was in German. So I had it translated by someone who I knew. And what they basically did was it took them 100 pages, right, to just tell me that, what did they say? Yeah, I didn't commit any crime. I didn't do anything wrong. But because I refused to wear a muzzle and go through the so-called measures, the COVID measures, and because of the way I think, they perceive me as a threat to the rest of Austrian society, which is the reason I'm not allowed to come back. And they are doing this under the guise of the Ideology Terrorism Act. So now I'm a terrorist, an ideology terrorist, you see, because I can think for myself.
Right.
And they're admitting that there's no crime. And they're telling me, because of the way I think, I'm not welcome to come back. So they're basically admitting to mind control. That's admitting to mind control. Because you think differently, you don't think like us, you don't conform. Mind control. So I've got a 100-page document from them. Not a single judge, not a single courtroom. I did prison time. And I'm not allowed to travel anywhere now. For what? For speaking the truth when nobody's listening. For what? This is why people don't talk about this stuff anymore. There's no glory in it, man. Nobody cares. People are sheep.
Except for the establishment. They're seeing you as a threat.
Well, when you talk, they're the only ones who are listening. It's only the enemy that listens. Yeah.
So the establishment, you're saying that they are Satanists?
On the higher levels.
So these Satanists, they rule the world? Is that what you say?
They run everything behind the scenes. And this is the high priest class. They're high priests. So going back to the old times, the ancient times, since the beginning, actually, it's always been a standoff between good and evil, right? This creation was created for the purpose of evolution through the experience of life itself. The source, the Godhead, to know itself through experience, the expression of experience. So we're here to express what we are through the experiences that we have here. So what the enemies of life, the evil has done, evolutionary force has done, is they have hijacked this reality and they've colonized it, and they've been running the show for a very long time. This is the reason why we're restricted in expressing ourselves the way we naturally are supposed to. Because how many of us can naturally express ourselves now, if we're to be honest? Can you naturally express yourself in society, in your everyday life?
Without being demonized?
Well, or without being in trouble, breaking the law, the artificial, fake, man-made law. We're not free here, but we think we are because we're allowed to engage in slavery in the form of jobs and work and make a bit of money. We think we're free. We're not free. We've been under their oppression, and we think it's normal, right? Because we've become used to it, but it's not normal. So this has been going on for a long time, and this has been a battle going on between the high priests of Satanism and the shamans. Shamanism and Satanism. Shamanism, the expression of the good force. High priests of Satanism, expression of the evil force. So what it is there's always 3 high priests who are in power at the same time. And the reason why that's done is if something happens to one of them, there's still 2 left. So the one that's happened to one of them, that's disappeared, is immediately replaced by another. So there's always 3. You understand what I'm saying? They usually sit together in ceremony and they directly commune with Satan. And Satan gives them the orders of what to do. It's all compartmentalized. It's like a pyramid, right? David I talks about this very well. He talks about the pyramid structure, how at the very top you've got the high priest class of Satanism. They get their instructions from Satan, which is above, upside down pyramid. Goes into the demonic realm. Right? So he's the high chief, the high commander of the involutionary force. And the high priests of Satanism, they're their servants on this on this terrain. Basically, all the information is passed down through them to the other members, to the next level of the pyramid, which is a wider circle. So there's more people, and then the next level. It's all the information is compartmentalized, and it's on a need-to-know basis. So the ones down there, they don't know what's going on up there exactly. They only know what they're told and what they need to know to pass down to the one under level. And eventually, when you reach the level of society like us, the majority, the masses, know nothing.
Yeah,
totally
we're so distant from it.
Yeah, totally ignorant of what's going on. We have no idea. Which is exactly how they control us. And they do their rituals, obviously, their satanic rituals, to control us through the rituals. And it's always been a standoff, a battle between the shamans and the high priests of Satanism. It's all witchcraft, man.
So what is the nature of this reality?
In what sense do you mean the nature of this reality? What is the nature of this reality? What, as in like a real creation or oh, right, okay. Well, originally this creation was created to be a real original copy of the Godhead. It was a projection of the spirit of the creator, the primary source, to allow the primary source to come into experience through us. We're extensions of that principle. So we are all different aspects of the Godhead or the source, whatever you want to call it. But what happened was this reality was hijacked by the involutionary force. And what they did was they built an artificial overlay, which we call the matrix. But there's not only one level of the matrix, right? There's been several copies, and now they're doing another one through the artificial intelligence program. They're building another one. So they want to merge man with machines and AI. transhumanism. So that's another level of it. That will be another level of it. So we've been taken further and further and further away from our original selves. Like quite a few times now. So, but now we're coming into a time frame where life force energy from the source is coming through so strong that it's breaking through all these layers, these artificial layers of the artificial copies. And eventually what's going to happen is they're going to be destroyed. And the only thing that's going to be remaining is the original version of this reality. As it was in the beginning. As it was in the beginning.
So why are they pushing transhumanism?
Because they know that this is happening, that what they've built so far is being destroyed and reality is coming back to its natural state again. They want to hijack our consciousness again and lock it in an artificial simulation which they are creating so that we no longer have access to our spirit, our soul. What they tried to do through the vaccination program was there's nanotechnology in the vaccinations, right? Which are basically small nanoparticles, which is technology. And they are programmed by artificial intelligence, which is all the satellite systems and the weapon system they've constructed in the atmosphere, including the 5G. They take their instructions and orders from the technology to get to work on the body to genetically modify the RNA and the DNA structure of the molecular structure of the biological bodysuit of the human being, from biologically organic to inorganic. So only biologically organic human bodies can house the spirit and the soul of a being. You understand?
Right.
So that's why they're trying to make it artificial instead of natural, so that the spirit can no longer live in that body. They're trying to extract our soul. So that's why when you look around you today and you look at people, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with these people, man? They're not normal. They're like
Machines.
They're like machines. That's because most of them have been harvested already. Yeah? You see the picture.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, well, this is what's been going on. And this is what this is all about. Because if you can do that, then you can minimize the amount of life force which exists in this realm. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to invade and colonize this reality. But to do that, they have to come in and take it over. And to be able to come in and take it over, they've got to make sure that they prepare the ground, because if they can't just come in, because if they came in, they would burn. They can't exist in this reality because their energetics don't support them, right? Because they're inorganic. So they can't just jump into, it's like jumping into fire, they'll burn. So they've got to genetically reorganize the realm and make it compatible for them, which is the reason why what they're doing with the technology is they're opening small black holes, which are portals. You know the CERN, the particle accelerator, which they call
Hadron Collider.
the Hadron Collider. That's what I call it. Yeah. What they're doing is they're opening small black holes, which are portals. But the portals they're opening portals into their realm. So they're merging atmospheric energy. So they're merging the two realms, basically, like our realm and their realm. They're merging it. And what this is doing is slowly genetically modifying our atmosphere to make it more compatible for them to come in. You understand what I'm saying? They're bringing in atmospheric energy into our realm.
But it's toxic, right?
Yeah, because if we go into their realm, we can't exist, we die. If they come into ours, they can't exist, they die. So what they're doing is they're merging the two realms together, right? Trying to suppress the organic energy of our realm. But what I don't realize is they're not connected to anything. They're already isolated, so they've got a limited amount of power, and all they have is the power and the energy of their realm, but there's no source to it. It's disconnected from the source. But our realm is connected to the source of everything. So there's constantly renewed energy coming through the source into our realm. So the more they try to invade our realm, the more power they lose. Do you understand? And the less and less existing space they have.
Right.
Am I able to explain?
Yeah.
It's like our source is endless, right? There's no limit to it. But they don't have a source because they've long disconnected themselves from the source, which is the reason why they're so dark and evil, right? Which is the reason why they become what they've become. So what they're trying to do now is they're trying to re-emerge because they've realized they've got nowhere else to go. Because they're not creative, they can't create. They don't have the power of creativity and they can't create anything new. So they're limited. So as we grow, they run out of more space. We push them out further, right? So they're trying to come in to suppress us, to stop us growing. But the more they do that, the more we grow and the more they're fucked.
But they're doing that through AI, right? Through integrating AI,
Yeah.
getting rid of creativity from...
But through the AI and the transhumanism, yeah, they're trying to contain it. They see us as that's why they call us a virus. Yeah? And they talk about containing the virus. They talk about, everything is about containing us.
Yeah.
They talk about zero carbon, reducing your carbon footprint, reducing this, reducing that. They're talking about the reduction of life and the living. They're talking about reducing us. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But how are they going to do that? Even if they merge us with machines, they still can't stop the natural life force energy of the source coming through, and they're finishing them. So they're now finding themselves cornered, basically, and lashing out in desperation. It's their last stand to survive. They're coming to an end, man. Because in the end, everything comes from the source. It comes from one source, right? Including them. So what they've done is they've separated themselves from that and denied it. They reject it. That's why they are what they are. But now they're realizing that they're not able to do without. So they have no other choice but to come back and merge with the source that created them. But they deny. Make any sense? So
There's still a threat, though, right?
there's a constant threat.
So what is the solution for us?
Well, the solution for the humans who remain as humans, right? Forget about the rest, because we're experiencing a split of polarities right now. So humanity is splitting. You've got the ones who are still human, who are feeling the paradigm shift and the evolution of the spirit. They're moving on to the next level. And the only challenge for them is to hold on to their essence and maintain their natural state of being and protect that. And that's it. It's not to fight the enemies of life. It's the challenge is to maintain your natural state of being without being contaminated and corrupted. And the more we do that, what happens is the more light of the source we embody, right? And the more we push it out there. So how can I tell you, man? It's, to give you an example, what's happening is, you know, the human body, let's take the human body. You know how acupuncture works, yeah? You know, when they stick a needle in one part of the body,
Sure.
and then it fixes one of the organs, another part of the body. You stick a needle in the arm, for example, and it fixes a liver or something, a liver problem. Well, how does that happen? It's because there is a circuitry system in the body, right? Like there is on a motherboard in a computer.
Right.
It's a circuitry system. And if you intervene on a specific point of that energetic circuitry system, it can affect the rest of the system,
Sure.
the energy flow. So that's how the human body works. And that's how the earth works as well, the planet,
Right.
the terrain. It's the same. You've got energy, you've got ley lines, and you've got specific points where specific ley lines meet and cross each other, right? And some of these can be portals, some of them can be vortexes, you know? And what they've done is they know what these points are, right? Our ancestors, our shamanic ancestors, they used to do ceremonies on these places to bring in the good energy, right?
Right.
And what they've done is they've invaded this terrain and taken over all those spots. And they've built their own monuments on there. They've built their own cities on there. They've built their churches on there. They're doing all these sick satanic practices to make sure the energy doesn't come through. And when it comes through, they're hijacking the energy and they're inverting the properties of that energy to control the masses. And the flow of the land, they're controlling it. So now what's happening is that's changing now because there's a battle taking place for the portals. So now they're getting kicked off so that the energies can flow through again. Because it's just, how does a volcano work? It's like there's so much pressure built, right? That energy has to be released from somewhere eventually. So eventually it's released. So what's happening now is that's exactly what it's looking like. It's all that energy is now, they've been sitting on it, right? Making sure it's not being released. But there's so much energy, they can no longer maintain.
Yeah.
They're going to
Push through.
Yeah, it's going to push through. No matter what they do, we're going to push through. They can't stop it. And they know they can't stop it, which is the reason why within their dementia, they think they can escape it. So what they've done is they've built underground bunkers and bases because they think they can hide from it and escape their demise. But they can't. They're trapped here.
Yeah, they'll still be part of that problem.
Sorry?
They'll still be a part of that problem, whatever they decide to tyrannically do to everyone.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit too late for them. They're done. They're done. But the problem is this. Because most people are not aware of what is happening, these energies are going to become so intense and the chaos in the world is going to become so extreme that a lot of people who don't understand what's happening, they're going to, it's like, how can I say, they're going to get caught up in the crossfire and they're not going to make it. A lot of people are going to lose their minds. A lot of people are going to check out and commit suicide. You're going to see mass suicides. The majority is not going to make it, to be honest with you. because simply there's going to be so much turmoil, and they're going to be confused. They're not going to know what's going on. So they're not going to know how to maintain and hold their sanity. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
They're going to go. A lot of people are going to go insane, and they are going to lose their minds. And there's going to be a lot of people turning on one another. And we're already seeing it now, especially in places like London. Not too difficult to observe. But this is nothing. This is just the beginning. And the establishment know this, and they're prepared for it as well. Obviously, when all this is happening, they're going to go and hide away as usual and just let the people kill each other.
Sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, for the people that are watching, what advice can you give them?
well, as I said, no matter what happens, don't pay. I say don't pay, but that's not the word. Don't give your attention and your energy away to what is going on out there. Keep your energy and focus turn internal. It's an inside job, right? Just put your attention onto yourself and observe what's going on with yourself, and observe the changes which is going on inside of you and wanting to come out and express. Because you're going to experience a lot of things going on inside of you, which is going to force you to want to naturally express it. So what I'm saying is a lot of us are going to start feeling a change in the essence of our being, of how we are and what we are and how we express. We're going to look at the world around ourselves and think to ourselves, how am I going to express all this in a world like this? It's totally too different. It's not compatible. So they're going to be afraid to express it. So my advice is don't be afraid, man. Just express yourself. Just let it come out of yourself. Don't hold it in, because the more you hold it in, that's life force energy waiting to come out of you and express itself in this creation. And that's the only thing that's going to save this creation. So don't hold it. And if you do hold it in, you're holding back a gift. So eventually what happens is all that energy, it becomes too much for your body to contain, which eventually causes physical disease in the body.
So even the people who are like far gone now, still don't give up on them, you say, as well?
Well, no. Don't give up on anyone or anything, no.
There's still hope.
Hope is not the word, yeah? I always say hope is hopium. It's like a drug, you know. Because when you're hoping, it means that there's despair and there's no, how can I say,
We have to be
it's
more.
gone.
We have to be more positive.
It's not even positive. You just have to trust yourself with the process. You have to trust yourself with the one and only source that permeates everything into existence. You have to remember and understand that you're an extension of that source, and it's doing its will, it's doing its bidding through you, right? So you have to surrender to it. You're not in charge, you're not in control. So there's only one thing you can do: surrender to that force and let it do what it wants to do through you. Because you're an extension of it, you're a vessel for it. That's why it created you and put you here, so that it can operate through you when it needs to, as it needs to. And once you're open to that and you're in full surrenderance to that, then you're good.
Right.
Then you have purpose. So now why do you need hope? You see?
I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Well, this is what some people will refer to as the Great Awakening or the Great Ascension process or the new paradigm shift. Because it is a new paradigm shift. So what's happening is this creation is getting an upgrade. It's moving on to the next level of its evolution. And what it does is, it's like when you take a cell of an organism, right? A new cell is born from the old cell, isn't it? So when an old cell is dying, it's reached the end of its lifespan, it's dying, it kicks off a natural process called the mitosis, right? Which is what happens is a new cell is generated from the dying cell. So it's like it grows from the dying cell and then it splits like that. And the new cell goes on to live on in a healthier, better improved version while the old one dies off and ceases to exist. It's like the snake shedding its skin. So now we have two different worlds in one reality. So we've got the old paradigm, which is the world as we know it, with all the shit going on, all the chaos, the wars, the politics, the bollocks, the bullshit, right? And now there's a new world emerging from that, which is invisible to most people, by the way. Some of us can perceive it, some of us are already in it, but it's the minority. That's the new paradigm, that's the new world, which everything, every emotion, feeling, thought that we had in the old world, which is negative feelings and emotions and bad feelings and all that, they're no longer going to be sustainable and applicable to the new world, the new paradigm. It's only going to be feelings and emotions and thoughts of collaboration, union, community, and intelligence and creativity, but working as a whole together to create that. You understand what I'm saying?
Harmoniously.
Harmoniously, so nobody will be perceiving anyone as an enemy or a threat anymore. Everyone will be perceiving each other as a brother, a friend, an ally to collaborate with, to do good things with. You understand? And there won't be room for like negative thoughts and emotions and feelings naturally. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds very good.
Yeah. Some of us are already there in that world. Some of us. But the majority, they're not. They can't perceive it. So the minority who's watching this right now, they're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. Is there any other question you wanted to ask me that you were curious about? Or?
I think a lot of people have questions about the Gnostic Takeover and about Steve. I think that's one topic we missed out on. If you just want to touch back on that for a lot of people.
Well, I'll just go through it quickly. I don't know how much time we've got left. We've been talking for a while, so the Gnostic Takeover channel on YouTube was formed in 2020 when I collaborated with Steve, when I met him and when I collaborated, which I touched up on earlier briefly. And we were talking about all this stuff on the Gnostic Takeover channel. So anybody who's not familiar with the Gnostic Takeover channel can go and find the Gnostic Takeover channel on YouTube. It's still there. It's not been taken down. However, it has been laying dormant since April 2024. So almost a year now, like a few months short of a year, actually. We're in February 2025 now. It's been dormant and it's been inactive because Steve has been quiet. So when I was back in Austria, there was a lot of tension between me and Steve. I don't want to go into the details now, but I think you know the story. We never got on with Steve, obviously, and I don't want to talk bad about anyone, especially when they may not even be around to defend themselves anymore, because I don't think Steve is alive anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, there's two options. He's either not alive anymore or they've got him in a nut house. Those are the only two scenarios I can think of. If I'm to know Steve, which I think I do, I spent nearly 2 years of my life with him, working together. So he's probably in a nut house somewhere or he's dead. I mean, I don't want to make any assumptions or anything. I don't want to say bad things about him, even though we never got on. It was a relationship based on falsehood. But for some reason, obviously, the source brought us together in that time period for a reason. For a higher purpose, the source only knows itself. And obviously, everything served its purpose. And everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. And I don't have any regrets. As a matter of fact, everything happened in the way that it was supposed to happen, if you were to ask me. But I'm a responsible person, so I take responsibility. And I'm never in victim mode. I always look at the lesson in things that happen. What can I learn from this? And I learn my lessons and I evolve and I move on in life. But unfortunately, Steve wasn't like that. He was never like that. He was always the victim, no matter what happened. And something used to happen to someone and he used to be the victim of it. You know, I went into prison and he was the victim somehow. For example, you know about that story. And yeah, I went to prison, then I was deported. And obviously he was the only one who had access to the channel because the channel was his, really. And I was just there riding along with him because I was there. Because he was the reason for me to stay in Austria, right? And yeah, it was his channel. We collaborated, did some work together. We did some videos together. And we had quite a lot of followers and listeners and people who were interested in what we're talking about. And when I was with him, he had a lot of donations coming in. You know, some months it used to be like 10 grand. Some months it used to be up to 15 grand some months. But every time things didn't go well between us and, you know, there was a split and I went my way, he went his way. His viewings used to drop and his donations used to drop. And every time we used to come back together, we used to go on the increase again.
Yeah.
If you remember. And finally, what happened. I got arrested and that was the end of it. That was the end of it. And then when he realized that I wasn't coming back, because I was arrested, and then eventually I was deported. But when I was deported, I went back to watch the videos that he'd done when I was in prison. And then he's talking against me. So he was using my situation, negative situation, as something to benefit from, right? All of a sudden, he's this hero who's going to save me and release me from prison. He's going to save me from prison, right? And then all of a sudden, he starts talking negative about me, that I'm a part of the network as well, and I'm a high priest of Satanism and all that. And that was it. I never really contacted him again after that, you know? And that was it. And now he's quiet. So who knows what's happened to him? Nobody knows what's happened to him.
Do you think he destroyed himself in that aspect?
He self-destructed, yeah.
How did he do that?
Well, what goes around comes around. The way you treat people in life comes back to us, you know? So this is why I always tell people, every action we make and take in life has a consequence. Maybe not an immediate consequence, but in the future, eventually, yeah, it catches up. So make sure you plant good seeds if you want to sow, if you want to reap good seeds.
Mm. You have to relive your negative again.
I think in the end, he got what he created for himself. And he always used to blame his environment for his situation. Look what they're doing to us. The establishment are doing this to us. I'm this big victim. I'm a victim. I'm the only one who cares for humanity, when he never cared about humanity. He just cared about himself, right? Mm. But what a good guy to portray himself to his followers as he's this good, amazing guy who gives a shit about the rest of humanity. So in the end, what happened was his followers started asking questions about what happened to Eril. Where's Eril? Talk to us about Eril. The last we know of Eril was he went to prison. And what happened to him? And Steve was ignoring all those questions. But he was replying to all the questions, to all his viewers who were making good comments about him. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But any question about what happened to Eril, where's Eril? You were supposed to get him out of prison. What happened? Where is he? He wasn't replying to them. If you check the comment sections in his videos, you will see all that, right? Because he was hiding the truth.
Yeah.
He never gave a shit about Eril, right? He was pretending to all along. And with what happened with Leone?
Little Leone.
Remember Leone? Leone was Liz's child who, fucking hell, this is another long topic we didn't touch up on, actually. I don't know how much we got left.
Well, okay.
This is the last thing I'm going to talk about, yeah? I'm going to talk about Saint Corona. So we ended up in a place called Saint Corona in Austria in in the autumn of 2021, yeah? So there was a woman called Liz. She started coming to the demonstration in Linz, okay? So we met. Steve and I, Chris, we met. And eventually what happened was there was a big split between me and Steve, obviously. And I went to live in the mountains, yeah? So I was in the mountains. I was living in a cave in the Alps for months and months and months. Sometimes the wizard, Chris, used to come and visit me in the mountains. We used to spend time together. But there was a lot of times I was on my own in the mountains, in the Alps. I used to break the ice every morning, bathe, do my pull-ups, do my push-ups, do my dry up, dress up, climb the mountain again, chop wood. And this was the most amazing experience in my life. And one night I was sleeping in the cave. I had such a strong connection with the land. What happened was I was sleeping in the cave that night, and I had a cavity in one of my teeth, lower jaw here. And in my sleep, I can feel the land connecting, like some power coming into my lower jaw through the land and healing me. And the next morning when I woke up, it was gone, man. And even till today, I've never needed a dentist since. So I got a healing from the land. And this is the power of nature. You understand what I'm saying? When we connect with nature, this is why ancestors used to walk barefoot and they never got sick, right? They were naturally connected to the natural medicine. all around them.
Yeah. Constantly grounding, right?
Constantly grounded. So without going off topic anyway, me and Steve had an argument again, and I was living in the Alps. And what happened was Chris came to visit me, Chris the Wizard, in the Alps. And he said, hey, listen, Eril, remember Liz? She's inviting us to St. Corona. Yeah, because they want to make a Mongolian yurt so that they can do some ceremonies, shamanic ceremonies. And you're the guy. They're inviting us. They're inviting you and me to come over. So you're the guy. So you want to come? I was like, sounds interesting. Let's go. So we went to St. Corona. We ended up in a town called St. Corona in Austria. Very beautiful place, man. It's on the mountain, on the verge of a mountain overlooking a valley. So when you look everywhere, there's mountains everywhere. Valley, mountain everywhere. Beautiful place, man. Right. And you couldn't even call it a village, right? There's probably 6, 7 houses in there and a church. And there was a house attached to the church. So where we went was that house attached to the church, out of all places. And it's like a bit of an eerie, weary place, man. But it's a beautiful place, don't get me wrong. But where we were at that church, a little bit strange. So we went in and we met the guy there. His name was Francie, right? And he came across as this hippy-dippy, farmer-lookish kind of guy, right? Who was just living in this house, which happened to be connected to a church, right? Which was a little bit strange. But the way he introduced himself to us was he was into all this, how can I say, shamanic things, right? So he had specific plants and some specific things, and he showed me. And he spoke about how he wants to start doing shamanic ceremonies. And he wants to build a Mongolian yurt in the garden. And Liz was telling him about me. And, he thought he'd invite us over, and now we're here, and he's hoping that we can help him build the yurt, and I can do some ceremonies for them in there. And I was like, yeah, why not? So it ended up becoming a place for us to stay as well, right? So we had shelter now, and we eventually built the yurt. I did some ceremonies there. So what happened was, through the ceremonies, the shamanic ceremonies, we eventually realized, and we were able to see that there was a lot of satanic shit going on in God knows how many miles beneath that church. Because what they have is, they have an underground tunnel system coming in from all over Europe into specific places, right? And this place in St. Corona was one of them. And they were doing satanic rituals in the vaults of that church, right? Which was, when they do satanic rituals, blood rituals, on specific power points of the land, what they do is they hijack the natural frequencies coming through the land, of the land, and they contaminate it. It's like poisoning a river, and then the whole river gets poisoned.
Sure.
But it's energetic poisoning. And that's how they control the energetics of the land. And we become in sync and behave in accordance to that. We feel it all around us. Like there's something in the air today, something's not right. You know what I'm talking about. We all get that.
Yeah.
Well, this is the reason why. So there are many places like that on the land, and St. Corona was one of them. And we spoke to a few people about this place in Austria, right? called Saint Corona. And they all said the same thing. They all spoke of, what they said to us was, there's a legend in Saint Corona that there's a story about a dragon that rises from the earth in Saint Corona. And what they were referring to was the dragon energy, which is the natural flow, the energetics of the land coming through. So we did a ceremony in Saint Corona. And what happened was, this energy came through me, right? Because I was conducting the ceremony, and this energy wanted to express itself through me, which was a dragon energy. So it was a being in form of a dragon, and this dragon was pissed off. It was pissed off, and it's so interesting that ceremony, right? This guy, he didn't want to participate, as if he knew what was going down. And he had a couple of people with him as well, and they were all in the house, right? So just as this energy is coming through, at that moment, they happened to walk into the ceremony space, the Maloka, where we were doing the ceremony, right? And they just helped themselves in. You don't walk into a ceremony. And they just walked around the fire without giving us eye contact, like cold, like blood cold. And they just sat down, like no emotion, no nothing. And they just sat there. And he turned around and he looked at me. So what's going on here, Eril? He says to me. And I'm like, I can't tell whether I'm a dragon now or a human being. You understand what I'm saying? Because I've got this energy coming through me. Yeah. So I look up and I'm like, there's this being trying to express itself through me. It's not possession. This isn't possession, right? It's just this energy is merging with me. It's a spirit. It's merging with me, joining forces. I'm still me, but I'm that as well. And that is also me now, but it's still itself. So we've come together and now we're working as a force together. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's like, this being or entity, whatever it is, this dragon, right, is pissed off with these beings who've just walked into the ceremony space. So I'm looking at these beings now, okay, who's meant to be this guy and his friends, and I can see that they're not. I can see them in their true form now. Archons, enemies of life. Yeah? The evolutionary force. So one of them, they can't give me eye contact. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't they looking at me? And all of a sudden, one of them turns and looks at me. What do I see? Big black round eyes. Dead. I'm like, at that point, I'm like, more than me, it was the dragon energy, which went, Archons. And I said it loud. Of course I said Archons. Yeah? And then that's when Francie looked at me and he said, what's going on here? And Steve was there as well. Yeah, it was Steve and Chris and me. So I was so pissed, but it was the dragon that was pissed, right? But I was trying to contain the dragon, like, relax, man. Now's not the time.
But the dragon was a positive force, no?
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing. They've demonized the dragon through the Bible, right? They've demonized the dragon. But the dragon is the divine positive force, right? It's in war against the fucking enemies of life. And that's why they've demonized it. So they're afraid of this dragon. They don't want it to come through, but it came through, right? Came through that ceremony, through me expressing. So now I'm trying to contain this. Are you familiar with the legends of the dragon riders? The principle of dragon riding. I was riding the dragon basically, and I'm trying to contain this dragon, but this dragon is pissed. It's entered our realm from the other side, right? From the inner dimensions of the creation, the earth. It's merged with this realm. It's coming to this realm. Through me, it's coming through me. But it's pissed because it's at war with the enemies of life, right? But now it's having to contain itself because it's out of its... If I couldn't contain it, there was going to be war, basically. The way it would have looked like is man kills 3 people in a shamanic ceremony. That's what it would have looked like. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm having to contain this energy. So now there's a divine dragon expressing itself through a human, as well as 3 archons expressing themselves through 3 humans, hosts, right? So I looked at, Francie said to me, so what's going on here, Eril, for the second time? And I was so angry. Well, the dragon was angry, right? And I just looked at Steve, okay, and I said to him, Steve, speak, yeah? In other words, I'll let you speak to him. I don't want to fucking say anything. I'm pissed. I'll let you speak to him. So Steve started talking to Francie, and he started saying things to him like, well, how can you explain to someone about something which is... he said, how can you explain to someone who's stuck in a bubble about a specific frequency he cannot receive because he's stuck in the bubble and he's not able to perceive it because he's stuck in the bubble? Like, he insulted them. And then that's when he got pissed, and he turns around and he goes to him, fuck you, Steve. And then Steve, surprisingly, he managed to maintain his coolness as well, and he said, well, we've seen a lot here, and it's obvious what's going on here. And then Francie goes to him, so what's going on here then, Steve? You tell me. They're still playing like as if nothing's going on. Like everything is in the open. And in the end, I took over and I said, we know what's going on here. We know what you're hiding, yeah? You're not able to hide it anymore. And I basically said to him, you're fucked. You're fucked. Because what we did was, through that ceremony, we unlocked what they were capping the energy, and we released it. So now it's coming through freely. It's like a signal, you know, because life is a signal. It's a sine wave, and it expresses itself through its creation. And as a part of its creation, it expresses itself through us as well. It comes through us, comes through the land. So what we did was merge with the land, and we released it. So now it's coming through. So the next day, what happened was, well, he got pissed off and he cursed and he cussed, and he went into the house with his friends, right? So he left us alone, went into the house. And that night, we decided not to leave that Maloka or go into the house because everything was obvious now. So we decided to sleep in the Maloka. So we slept in the Maloka, but we were winding down now before the sleep. And all I can see is what this guy was doing was, he was in the house, in his room, meditating, astral projecting himself into the Maloka where we were. And all I can see is him in the ceremony. But he's in his room, but he's astral projecting himself and inserting himself into the ceremony room, and he's got something here on his waist, and he's taking it out like dust. He's sprinkling it all over us like that. I don't know what the hell it was. With the witchcraft. Right? He's doing black magic. This guy's a fucking black magician. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, I see you now. I see what you're doing, yeah? And I turn over and I look at him like this, and I go like that to him. And then he goes mad, innit? And then he turns his back and he goes back. I'm like, I can see you. It's not working. You know, that's what I said to him. And the next day, what happens is you know what cardinal is? Cardinal?
No.
Cardinal is basically, it's the spiritual authority of that country. So like in the Vatican, you have the Pope. So in Austria, you have the head of the church, and the church runs everything in Austria, right? You have the head of the church, which is the cardinal. So the cardinal of Austria comes the next day to see this guy, Francie, and they're talking. And he doesn't come in the house because we're in the house, right? So after that, we said to him, what's going on? What did he want? Yeah? What did he want? And he was like, well, he wanted to measure the frequency. He wanted to measure the damage. I'm like, okay. So basically what this guy is doing is he's measuring how much the frequencies have been knocked out and disrupted with what we did, with the ceremony that we did. And after that, we basically had to leave because this guy was going crazy. And he started attacking Steve. So he can't attack me, he's attacking Steve, the weaker link. So now we're like, we've got to get out of here, man. We can't stay here anymore. So we kind of fled that place. And after that, what happened was, that was the day they declared the Omicron, the new variant of the so-called coronavirus, Omicron. And that was the day they made it mandatory to get a vaccination in Austria. Austria was the only country in the world where they made it mandatory to get a vaccine. It didn't last for long, but they made it mandatory. So because of what we did with the energetics of the land, they had to do that. They had to, but it didn't last for long. And a couple of months after that, I was arrested anyway, because I was a fugitive. So obviously there's a lot more background to the story and it goes on, but I don't want to go too on because we've already gone for too long, and I think we should end it here.
We can wrap it up here.
Unless there's anything else you want to clarify to wrap up, something else you want to ask me.
No, I think we'll wrap it up there for today. I think there's a lot more to talk about on another time. Thank you, Eril Kaya. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your insights. It's been very interesting. And we hope to see you again soon.
Like I said, I'm going to drop some links in the video, and yeah, it's been a pleasure, and thanks for this conversation. Take care.
A pleasure is ours.
All right then.